The test begins. The galaxy was quiet that morning. Then the signal came. It wasn't a message. It was a challenge. It came from an ancient machine floating near a dying star. No one had built it. No one claimed it. But the machine broadcast one thing to every species in the galaxy. Send your strongest. Let them survive. The Galactic Council panicked at first. Was it a trap? A weapon? But then scientists decoded the full message. It described a place, Varnock 9, a deadly planet, where the ground burned, the sky screamed, and the air was barely breathable. They called it the test. No one knew who created it. But the Council quickly turned it into a contest. Each species would send one champion. If you survived for 48 hours, your species earned status, glory, maybe even power. 20 elite warriors were sent from 20 proud worlds. They arrived on Varnock 9 with armor, weapons, and pride, and one by one they failed. The firestorms melted metal. The wind screamed like a dying beast. The plants sprayed acid. One warrior lasted 12 minutes. The longest, a six-eyed soldier with 6 hearts, lasted 3 hours. He was found curled in a crater, whispering, "The sky is alive." Only one species remained, humans. The Council hesitated. They didn't know much about humans. Their planet, Earth, was listed as a deathworld, a rare place where survival was a constant fight. Still, they looked soft. They laughed too much. They talked too much. Surely they'd fail too. But then the human stepped out of the dropship. He wore no armor. Just a jacket and goggles. He smiled, stretched his back, and said, "Feels like home." The Council watched through the feeds. Alien leaders leaned in, ready to see another failure. Instead, they watched a man walk through acid rain like it was mist. He pulled a cloth over his nose, took a deep breath, and climbed a ridge. On the other side, a giant bug-like creature screamed and charged him. He didn't run. He threw a rock. One shot, right in the eye. The bug fell. Dead. The council room went silent. The human sat on the bug's body, pulled out a snack bar from his jacket, and started eating. He looked up at the sky. "Weird weather," he said. "But I've seen worse in Chicago." Laughter followed, not from the aliens, from the human. He was laughing in a place that burned metal. By hour 12, he had built a shelter from the bones of fallen creatures. By hour 24, he had made a water filter using broken tech and a helmet. By hour 36, he had started mapping the land with sticks and stones. He wasn't just surviving, he was exploring. Alien scientists couldn't believe it. They rechecked Earth's profile. Earth had freezing poles, burning deserts, monster storms, poisonous jungles, and oceans filled with things that could eat you whole. Earth was not a home. It was a training ground. The alien council members whispered, "No one should come from a place like that." On Varnock 9, the human kept moving. He didn't stop. He didn't cry. He didn't even look tired. At hour 48, a bright light lit the sky. A message appeared above him. "You passed." The test was over. The human looked up, nodded, and said, "Neat." Then he walked back toward his dropship. But the story didn't end there, because the machine, the one that started all this, sent out one more message, not to the galaxy, but only to Earth. Why they laughed. The human returned from Varnock 9. With a calm smile and a dusty jacket, the council didn't smile back. They were afraid. Every species had failed the test. Their strongest warriors, armored champions, and elite soldiers were broken in minutes. Only the human had survived. Not just survived, laughed. Alien leaders whispered in private rooms. Why was he smiling? Was he insane? Didn't he feel fear? But one question burned brighter than all. Why did the human find it easy? Back on Earth, no one was surprised. Reporters asked him, "How did you do it?" He shrugged and said, "It was just Tuesday." That answer shook the galaxy. Because it wasn't just one man. It was Earth, the Deathworld. For generations, Earth had been hidden, ignored by the galactic elite. Too unstable, too violent, too unpredictable. No one wanted to deal with a species raised on chaos. But now they wanted to understand. And so they sent a team of researchers to Earth. Scientists, observers, leaders. What they saw made them laugh at first. A child riding a dog bigger than it. A woman holding a hot cup of coffee while walking through. A lightning storm. People diving into freezing water for fun. They thought it was all a show, until the storms came. A hurricane slammed into the coast. Buildings shook, trees flew, power went out. Alien observers ran for shelter. Humans, they stayed calm. Some even filmed it on their phones. One alien whispered, "They are not like us." But the true shock came the next day. After the storm, people walked into the wreckage with tools, food, and helping hands. No orders, no government command, just people helping people. "Why?" one alien asked. A man replied, "Because it's what we do." The aliens had no words. On their worlds, disasters meant panic, systems breaking, orders failing. On Earth, disasters made people stronger. And suddenly, the laughter made sense. Humans laughed at Varnock 9 because it wasn't the worst they'd seen. One researcher reviewed Earth's history and trembled. They survived world wars, nuclear tension, plagues, famine, climate collapse. Another whispered, "They learned to smile in hell." The council wanted answers, so they called the human again. In the grand chamber filled with glowing lights and tall aliens, the human stood alone. A council leader asked, "Why do your kind laugh in pain?" The human smiled gently, "Because if we don't, we break." The chamber fell silent. And then, the message came. The ancient machine that had tested the galaxy blinked back to life. But this time it didn't challenge. It asked one question. "Ready for the next level?" Everyone froze. All eyes turned to the human. He cracked his knuckles, grinned, and said just one word. "Always." The second test. The galaxy was still buzzing from the human's unexpected triumph on Varnock 9. No other species had survived the deadly planet, yet the human had not only endured but seemed unfazed. The Galactic Council, both intrigued and unsettled, decided to issue a second challenge. This time the test was different. A derelict space station orbiting a dying star had been discovered. Its systems were failing, gravity was unstable, and time anomalies were reported. The Council deemed it the perfect setting for their next trial. They invited representatives from various species to explore the station. Most declined, citing the mission as suicidal. Only the human accepted, his response simple. "Sounds like fun." Equipped with minimal gear, the human boarded the unstable station. Inside, corridors twisted unpredictably, lights flickered, and the air was thick with tension. Time seemed to warp. Moments stretched and compressed without warning. As he navigated the chaos, the human encountered remnants of previous explorers, equipment left behind, signs of struggle, and eerie silence. Yet he pressed on, his demeanor calm, even amused. "Addy?" One point, a sudden gravity shift threw him against a wall. He laughed, adjusting his path without hesitation. Another moment, a time loop trapped him in a corridor. He patiently waited it out, using the time to rest. After several hours, the human reached the station's core where a terminal awaited. Activating it, a message appeared. Challenge completed. Upon his return, the council was silent, their expressions a mix of awe and concern. The human, ever nonchalant, remarked, "That was interesting. What's next?" The revelation. The council chamber was silent. The human had passed 2 tests, both meant to break even the strongest species. Yet he returned each time, calm, relaxed, almost bored. Now the leaders of many alien races were worried. "It's not just strength," whispered one ambassador. "It's something else." Word spread across the stars. Some called it luck. Others said madness. But a few began to speak a quiet truth. Deathworlders were something different. In a sealed room far from the council, a group of scientists reviewed ancient records. They had once studied Earth when humans were still unknown. Now those forgotten files seemed terrifying. "Look at this," one researcher said, pointing at a shaky video from Earth. It showed a human climbing a frozen mountain alone, with no equipment, laughing as a storm tried to kill him. Another file showed a child walking through fire to rescue a pet. Another, a war soldier carrying 5 wounded men under heavy gunfire. The files kept coming, each more insane than the last. One scientist stood and said, "We didn't understand before. Humans don't just survive danger. They grow stronger. In it. They enjoy it." Meanwhile, the humans sat in a quiet room, sipping a strange green drink the aliens provided. He looked up as a drone entered and spoke. "Are you ready for the final test?" He smiled. "Bring it." Back in the council, panic started to grow. "What if?" one voice asked, trembling. "We weren't testing him. What if he's testing us?" The final trial. The room changed. No longer smooth metal walls. No lights. No sounds. The human stood in complete darkness. Suddenly a voice echoed from above. Not machine, not alien. It felt ancient. "This is the last test. No help. No tools. Only fear. Only truth." Then the floor dropped. He fell into freezing water, pitch black, no surface in sight. Most species would panic. Many had died here. One choked breath, and it would be over. But the human grinned. He remembered stories from his home, ice diving, shipwrecks. He held his breath and calmly swam down. Down, down. His lungs burned, his muscles screamed. Shadows moved around him, massive, alien, watching. Still, he didn't stop. He found a tunnel, narrow and sharp, filled with jagged rock. Most would have turned back. He forced his way through. Blood ran down his arms. Then, light. He broke the surface in a glowing chamber filled with glowing crystals and silver vines. A platform rose beneath him, lifting him into a quiet dome. Dozens of council leaders watched from screens. They had sent soldiers, scientists, champions. None had made it this far. The alien judge whispered, "How is this possible?" Soft voice answered from the back. An elder, old, blind, and wise, because humans don't see danger as a wall. They see it as a door. The human stood, soaked, bleeding, smiling. "Is that all?" he asked. The council was silent, and far across the stars, a warning began to spread. Never challenge a Deathworlder. You might survive, but your pride never will. The unexpected twist, the chamber lights dimmed. The human stood still, water dripping from his torn clothes, the pain ignored. Every alien watching expected the test to be over, but the chamber didn't open. Instead, the floor shook. Something massive moved below. A voice, this one cold, mechanical, spoke from the shadows. "Override accepted. Initiating death protocol." Even the council panicked. "No, that was locked centuries ago," one shouted. A hidden wall slid open. A new door. No lights beyond it. Just the sound of something breathing. Something old. Something alive. The council's voice cracked. He wasn't supposed to reach that level, no one was, but it was too late. The human turned. He didn't ask questions. He walked straight into the darkness. Inside, the walls pulsed like a heartbeat. The air felt thick, like being watched. A low growl echoed. Then it appeared. A creature, taller than 2 humans, claws like swords, eyes burning red. It was not part of the test. It was the failsafe, something left behind in case a species ever got too far. It lunged, but the human didn't flinch. Instead, he laughed. He remembered something from Earth. "If it bleeds, we can beat it." He dodged, slid under, grabbed a loose pipe from the ground and rammed it straight into the creature's side. The monster roared, bleeding. The council screamed to shut it down. Too late. The human was already climbing the beast's back, wrapping its jaws shut with his belt, and whispering, "You should have made this harder." Outside the chamber, the silence was deafening. Aliens from every world watching the broadcast felt the same cold truth. This wasn't a test for humans anymore. It was a warning for everyone else. Deathworlders Laugh echoes. Across the stars, the chamber doors finally opened. Smoke drifted out. The lights flickered. Silence hung heavy. Then, footsteps. Slow. Steady. The human walked out. Shirt torn, arm scratched, face smudged with ash, but smiling. Behind him, the massive beast that once terrified the galaxy now limped quietly like a trained dog. One eye bruised, the other lowered in submission. The audience gasped. The council stood frozen, unsure if this was real or another system error. The human looked at them all, then spoke in a calm voice. "That was fun. What's next?" Across the galaxy, screens were replaying the moment on loop. Alien scientists rewound the footage in disbelief. Warriors rechecked their combat records. Strategists began burning old files. Prophets rewrote predictions. One council member finally found the courage to speak. "That wasn't supposed to happen. You weren't supposed to survive." The human chuckled. "Yeah, I figured. You weren't supposed to fight the final beast. It's older than your son. I've wrestled bears. This one just had more teeth." The creature behind him growled softly, but not in anger. In respect. The council stared at their failed test, now reduced to a joke in human hands, and the galaxy watched with wide eyes and deep fear. Back on Earth, the message was already going viral. Test failed. We just started playing. In orbit above the test station, a hidden Terran fleet decloaked. Dozens of human ships shimmered into view, silent and still, but very, very real. The council panicked. This was not part of the plan. But the humans didn't fire. A single message was transmitted to every species. You test us, we adapt. You doubt us, we prove you wrong. You push us, we laugh. The human turned, raised his hand, and waved at the camera. His laugh echoed across the galaxy. And, for the first time in centuries, every species felt it in their bones. Deathworlders weren't just surviving. They were coming.